speakers this afternoon. So without further ado, I would love to introduce and present to you the very first keynote speaker for today, Alison Jaap, Customer Director from First Direct. And she will share how they're approaching digital engagement with the customer at heart. Alison, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here today to talk about what is one of my biggest passions, and that's putting the customer at the heart of our business. And in this case study, I'll share with you our approach to delivering digital services, but with a deep human touch, ensuring that we drive a genuine customer focus in our business while balancing that with business and customer requirements. So as a little bit of background, I thought I would start with who we are. And First Direct, for those of you who don't know us, I suspect, however, many of you are our customers, we are the original challenger bank. And we provide people-powered banking, so a digital bank without branches, supported 24/7, 365 days a year. And yes, we are open on Christmas Day. And we have no IVR telephony service, so you call us and you get straight through to an individual human. We have a full set of products consisting of current account, savings, cards, mortgages, loans and insurance. And we're pretty small, small but perfectly formed, I would like to say at this point in time. 1.5 million customers. However, 97% of our transactions are now undertaken digitally. And that's probably a surprising statistic for many of you who may think of us as a telephone bank. And part of the reason I'm here today is that we're consistently appear at the top of customer satisfaction surveys. And we've just regained our place at the top of the UK Customer Service Index, which I'm absolutely delighted about. I thought I would start by sharing our vision this afternoon. It's really simple, but it's absolutely critical to how we approach digital engagement. And I'm going to start with something that is perhaps a little odd for someone from a bank to say, and that's banking is boring. It really, really is. And what matters in banking for the vast majority of our customers and their interactions is that it just works. You move your money, you take out a loan, you invest. It has to be simple, intuitive and easy. But we all know that there are times when everyone needs a little bit more help, and that human touch really matters. And then it's important to treat customers like individuals. And that's really at the business strategy, but it flows through into our digital strategy as a digital bank, but with people at its heart. I'm going to share some of our digital facts and figures to bring this alive a little bit more for you. So in 2020, we completed 58.7 million digital transactions compared to 1.1 million through our telephony channel. And I think that is a stat that 10 years ago, even probably 5 years ago, if I had shared that aspiration with our business, they thought, no, that's not going to happen. But our customers have truly embraced digital. And you can see that in our engagement figures. So 76.3% of our customers are digitally active and 70% have logged in at least once in the last 90 days. And I think, like everyone on the conference this afternoon, we have seen that accelerating as we go in and out of lockdown and as society changes around us as a result of the pandemic. And again, what we're also seeing, which I think is a pretty consistent global phenomena, is that we're seeing an increased move away from desktop towards mobile. And that is where most of the growth in our digital stats are coming from. I just wanted to end this element, and this is about our Net Promoter Score. Obviously, as a bank that prides itself on customer satisfaction, this is incredibly important to us. And depending on our digital channels, we tend to range from between about 40 Net Promoter Score to a positive plus 53. So again, while we still have more we can always do to improve, our customers are generally relatively satisfied with the digital offering that we have. So I've already mentioned there that we have this constant thirst to improve. So how do we do that? And there are 8 things I'm going to talk about today, and you'll see these up on the screen in front of us. And I think the context is that it's a really, really competitive world out there. And it's competitive not just because others within our industry are innovating and improving their propositions, but it's also competitive because customer expectations are constantly increasing. And something that was novel or unique 6 months ago is almost just become a hygiene factor now. Lots of people say to me, oh, you must have the best job in customer experience. And my retort is actually, I sometimes think I have the worst job in customer experience, because it's really, really tough to stay at the top year in and year out. And that's what we have done and continue to aim to do. So the secret of our success, I think, is that we run the business as an integrated system. And that system is based on the customer rather than the channel. But we face the same paradoxes as everyone else. So how do you balance customer experience with efficiency? And I think traditionally within the banking industry, digital was a means of channel shift, and it was a means of reduction in cost. That's not the way we approach it. And neither efficiency or customer experience are more important to us. We have to balance those, and we have to balance that across all of our channels. And I passionately believe that with some thought and care, it's possible to achieve both of those outcomes, but it does take a different approach. So what does that actually mean in practice, and how do we balance that equation? So I'm going to start in a place you would probably expect me to start this afternoon, and that is about cross-channel data analytics. I think we've all heard the buzz around big data. We've all heard the buzz around personalisation. And I think it is pretty crucial that we do get into the data for our customers. And we aim to get a customer view, and we look at the data at a behavioural level. So we don't just look at what our customers are doing. We don't look at them in a single channel. We try and cross-match that data. And that tells us some interesting things about our customer behaviours. So recently we've cross-matched some of our telephone data on payments calls with our digital data on payment flows. And we see really interesting behaviours where a customer will go through a digital journey to a certain screen. They then fall out at that point, and then we call us. Really interesting behaviour. But what's interesting is we probably then take the step further and we ask why. So why is the customer doing that? Is that because our digital flows aren't good enough? Is that an individual customer choice? Is there something that is happening for that customer? And we really dig into not just the data, but we dig into the why, and I'll come back to that a little bit later. Another example, we also use some external data that is available to us. We have taken some of our frequent caller data, so who are the customers who call us through our telephony channel most frequently, as we saw some changes as we've gone through the pandemic. And we matched that with some external data and income shocks, because we had a hypothesis, and I'll come back to hypotheses, that actually a number of our customers' behaviour was changing as they were getting more and more worried about their financial situation. And actually what we found when we cross-matched those two data sets, that hypothesis was true, that customers were changing their behaviour, they were checking their accounts more often, and they were calling us more often, and that was as a result of an external income shock. So once we have a look at the data, what do we actually do with this? Because actually knowing something and not acting on it is no good to your customers. And that's where we come on to the second part, and I've called this micro-segmentation. So once we understand what is happening with our customers, we then look at those individual segments, and we look at how do we meet the exact needs of the customers. So this isn't big segmentation at a product level. It's not segmentation in the classic marketing phraseology. It's very much on individual groups of customers who have similar needs, and they can be quite small. And when we look at this, we take a whole customer approach. So digital generally isn't a solution to a customer need, but the ability to achieve something digitally can be. And as we've looked at some of this micro-segmentation, we've moved away from an approach that was basically, would you like to use digital, or digital could help you, to a much more segmented, targeted discussion with our customers that is about what is the need that they have and how can our different channels support them. So if I go back to the example I shared about those income shots, for those customers who are now calling us on a daily basis, the conversation we're having is, I can see that actually your calling pattern has changed, and I can also see from your account that you're perhaps struggling a little bit. How can we help you? And some of that does go into our financial support mechanisms, but there's some really simple things that we can do for our customers there, and that is, why don't I show you how to set up the app? Why don't I show you how you can monitor your accounts on a daily basis, so that you can see real time what's coming in and out? So we move away from the conversation being about the channel to the conversation about the need, and we take the need from some of the analytics and some of the insight that we have gathered. And that is a lovely link into the third box that I'm going to cover off here, and that is about frontline feedback. At the start of this presentation, I talked about how we manage our whole system to support the customer, and that is all of our channels. And our frontline feedback is incredibly important to us, and we use it extensively. So that feedback is at times anecdotal, but what it does do is give us insight as to what customers don't like. Why do they fall out journeys? What would help? It gives us insight into some of those why questions that sit behind what we're seeing through our data. And our frontline feedback feeds directly into our digital backlogs for prioritisation. And this gives us some real hypotheses that we can then explore more fully with our data analytics. So we'll get some feedback that perhaps, this seems to be going on with our customers. And it wouldn't necessarily be immediately obvious in the data. But what we can do is then go back to our cross-channel data analytics, run some more segmented analysis, gives us new segmentation, and then we feed that back to our frontline. So there's a lovely feedback cycle working here that we find really works well for us. The fourth point I wanted to cover off is about complaints root cause analysis, and this is just another part of that feedback loop. And we analyse our complaints in exactly the same way as our frontline feedback. We look at journeys, we look at customer groups, we look at channels. And this gives us really robust insight into where the real problems are and allows us to prioritise, I guess, all aspects of the problem. And generally, with all of our new features, they're reviewed by our complaints team, who frankly have a very good nose for understanding what customers won't like or what they will react to. And that's sometimes quite different than what our digital teams will perhaps think. And over the last 3 years, as our digital journey has accelerated, I think we've had some really, really tough lessons on what actually upsets customers when we make changes. And we go into that now with our eyes wide open. And that's really as a result of that complaints root cause analysis and the engagement of our people who are dealing with those customer complaints right at the front of the design journey. And I've got a lovely example from this week, actually. So we received a complaint from a customer about the naming of our chatbot, and the customer was complaining that this was sexist. So we've called our chatbot Dot, and the customer assumption was that this was a shortened form of Dorothy. That really wasn't our intention. It was because there were lots of dots in the way that the conversational banking text comes through. Anyway, we've had that discussion internally, we've had that debate with the customer, we've taken on board the feedback, and we're going back and we're now changing the banners to make it clearer. And we're now reflecting on, actually, do we change the name or don't we change the name? And we will have that conversation with the customer. So we take every piece of feedback that we get incredibly seriously and we act on it. And that flows through into our Net Promoter Score and closed loop feedback. And again, we do NPS surveys just like everyone else does, but we focus on what's behind it, because the NPS data really is interesting, but it's the insight behind it that allows you to do something about it. And there's a running joke across the business that I'm constantly asking questions. And one of my favorites is why. So yes, I can see a customer wasn't happy, or I can see a customer was happy, but why? What was it they actually liked? What was it they actually didn't like? And it's something that quite often that top level NPS survey doesn't tell. And recently we've introduced some more formalised closed loop feedback. It comes through into our customer relations team, an alert is triggered, and then we contact the customer where they are unhappy. And we have that discussion proactively with them about what more could we do to improve our relationship with you. And that takes me on to my next box, which is ask our customers. We ask our customers lots, whether that's through F-Design, our digital co-creation platform, focus groups, but we also just call them and speak to them nice and simply. And a lovely example of this is a call we had with our management committee yesterday. And it was a recording, we played for the management committee, a recording of a call with one of our customers off the back of our closed loop feedback, where they talked to us incredibly passionately about what they wanted us to do with the digital channels. And this gentleman was absolutely fantastic. So for 30 minutes of a call off the back of some feedback on our NPS, he talked to us about what he wants from our digital channels. And actually many of my fellow exec members were almost offering the chap a job, come and join us. He was so passionate about what he wanted to do. So from that conversation yesterday, we've taken the really quick wins we can about communication, and we'll look back with the customer, and we're tying all of this together back into our backlogs so that customer voice is really at the heart of everything we do. But sometimes it can be fun, simple things. So we had a comment in a recent relationship NPS survey when the customer asked, what could we do to improve? And they said, send me a box of chocolates. You know what? That's what we did. I think that's really one of the things that's special about First Direct. We try to build that relationship with our customers, and we try to put that customer at the heart of everything. That doesn't mean, however, that we always get it right, and that's why we build a hypothesis and experimentation mindset into our business. So we build a hypothesis, we test it, and then we refine it. So if I go back to some of my micro segments I talked about earlier, we were doing some work on text message banking, so balances and information by SMS, which is quite an old technology. And most of our customers registered for that are also registered for online banking. And we thought, well, why do you want to use this, or do you want to use this? And it's just apathy that you haven't deregistered. So we tried an approach going out to contact them, and given they're using the SMS channel, we used the SMS channel, and we actually got a really low response level. Now, question is why, and what does that mean? And we still don't know the answer, but we've said, okay, we've learned something there. Let's try a different approach. And we're trying some direct marketing, we're trying some banners in our app, and we'll see what actually works. Once we understand what works, we'll double down and we'll get on with it. And we're running a number of experiments in how we deliver conversational banking and what's the best operating model. So we have dedicated conversational banking agents. We have people who are doing it on a rotation basis mixed in with our calls. We've got people in our specialist teams. And again, it's very much about that constant drive to improve and that constant drive to find a better way to serve our customers, and that really drives our whole business. So that means that we do need a very good way of changing, and we do need a very agile mechanism to deliver our kind of change agenda. And within our construct, we have a customer value stream that I lead. And that is a very clear objective to improve customer experience. And it works across all of our change activity to stop things that will become customer distractors, to ensure that we're getting customer value out of all of our build, even if that is just a regulatory change. Can we squeeze a tiny little bit more customer value out of it, even if it is just changing 1 or 2 words? And the value stream itself takes on delivery of some of our most critical journey improvements, but it is also the insight engine across the rest of our business, and it makes sure that that customer voice permeates absolutely everything that we do as a business. So what does success look like for us? And I thought I would share the vision for our customer value stream with as a starting point, and that's the paragraph in pink and white at the top of this page. So we're looking to deliver best-in-class customer satisfaction experience with class-leading digital journeys, continued brilliant human service with both the culture and infrastructure to deliver rapid improvement changes. And hopefully, as I've talked through how we do this, you can see that coming alive. And based on the belief that what is right for our customers is also right for the business, and through doing the right things will drive growth but also contain cost, we focus then on a number of set measures here. So the first one is about overall and digital specific customer satisfaction. So we look across all of our channels, we look at NPS, but we also look at digital benchmarking. And digital, as you've heard, is part of an overall outcome. We then have outcomes on digital servicing activity. And this is really interesting because we know that our digital services are in the largest majority of cases better for our customers. They tell us that. They tell us how simple and easy they are to do. And we see this through some of our NPS scores. So we're not forcing channel migration, but we do want to encourage it because we believe it's actually better for us and better for our customers. We've talked about complaint outcomes, and I would say we obsess about those complaint outcomes, but we look at them in that end-to-end journey. We look at them from a customer perspective rather than a channel perspective, and our complaints teams are really embedded across the whole of our business in driving that performance improvement culture. And the final element I wanted to call out here today is that we've got a specific focus on vulnerable customers. So how do we deliver a commercially viable, robust, but customer-centric service that meets the needs of our most vulnerable customers? And I think that's something that all of us in the customer experience world are facing into as we exit the post-COVID-19 pandemic. I suspect that many of the people on this call have similar outcomes, but for me, the difference and the first direct difference is how we achieve those. And I hope I've shared some of that with you today. And with that, that's where I'm going to leave it. So thank you. I think we've now got a little bit of time for questions. We've got some in chat here.
That is great presentation, Alison. Thank you very much for that. I really enjoyed listening to that. You probably do have the best job, indeed. And I also hope that after this presentation, you don't get a lot of requests for sending me a box of chocolate. So thank you very much. That's very entertaining. So for our attendees, please do feel free to drop any questions in the chat if you do have any. I thoroughly enjoyed that, the conversation. Okay, somebody is mentioning, very interesting, thanks. I think you just explained what you do very well there, Alison.
Good. And hopefully, hopefully that passion and our culture comes through, because I think that really is the linchpin of putting customers at the heart of digital. It's not digital, it's customers who happen to interact with you through your digital channels.
Absolutely. We have got one question that have come through. You
Yeah.
mentioned NPS, but do you use other measurements such as CSAT, customer effort, etc.? Would you like to elaborate?
Yes, we use lots and lots of other measures, if I'm honest. So we use a strategic net promoter score. We also do that in relationships. We do it on channels. We do it on journeys. We also have post-purchase surveys, and we also do consider in our design the Nunwood factors about ease, effort, friction, all of those types of things as part of what we look at.
Fantastic. You mentioned the experimental approach. Do you use design thinking by any chance? Because that is something that we hear quite a lot.
Categorically, yes, and it is. I come from a background that is very much systems thinking, and you probably heard some of that coming through, that we talk about the whole system. We don't talk about elements of it. When we look at journeys, we look at the whole end-to-end journeys, and that does come back to just that whole focus on design thinking and systems thinking. And we very much design from the customer perspective, and I am obsessed at looking at not just the happy paths, but looking at the unhappy paths, because generally the happy paths are much easier to design than the unhappy paths, and quite often those happy paths, when you get them right, customers stay in the channel of choice. But when you don't get them right, or there are more complexities for the customer, that strategy that we have about a digital bank with people at our heart becomes really important. But that does mean you do need that design thinking end to end, and you can't separate out your channels.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have also got another question that came in. Do you have any incentive linked to the NPS results?
Ooh, that is it's a very interesting question. So I bluntly shared with you my objectives for the year today, and you will see that I've got that dual objective of reducing cost and maintaining NPS and improving customer satisfaction. Obviously I have an element of performance-related pay. My team have an element of performance-related pay, but the two elements sit together. It isn't one of improved customer satisfaction at all costs. It is not one of moving cost out of the business or achieving channel shift. It's the combination of the two together. And I know that if I don't get that balance right, I bluntly won't get a very good bonus next year. So it does apply at my level. It applies at, I think my leadership team have dual responsibilities at the level below me. And we've had a big debate actually at our more junior colleagues about should we be putting this into our performance frameworks at a much more junior level. We haven't done it yet. It is an active debate. There's just this challenge that says, do you become obsessed with one measure over another, and how fairly can you judge everyone in the organisation around some of those NPS results? What is within their control to deliver?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. And before we go, I just wanted to say thank you, Alison, for sharing your very inspirational journey. I hope I've learned a lot. I hope our attendees have learned a lot from your session as well. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your insights and sharing today.
No problem. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.